Today, we're diving into a really powerful psychological force, one that shapes everything from our habits with our phones all the way to our deepest, most complicated relationships.
So let's kick things off with a puzzle that I'm guessing a lot of us have run into. You know that confusing push and pull dynamic? The one that, against all common sense, can make someone seem completely irresistible. It feels like a total mystery, but it's actually a very predictable pattern.
And this isn't just about dating, not at all. Think about that feeling of, okay, just one more scroll or just one more pull. It turns out the very same psychological hook that works in relationships is also the engine behind some of the most addictive technologies in the world.
All right, so let's get into it. Because all of these things, the confusing relationship, the endless scrolling, the slot machine, they're all driven by the exact same core principle. And I promise by the end of this, you're going to start seeing this pattern absolutely everywhere.
To really get our heads around this puzzle, we've got to rewind a bit. We're going back to the early days of behavioral psychology, when scientists were just starting to figure out the basics of how we learn.
So the story actually starts way back in the late 1890s with this psychologist named Edward Thorndike. And believe it or not, his cats in puzzle boxes. He noticed something really simple but profound. Actions that led to a good outcome, like escaping the box to get a treat, were much more likely to be repeated. He called it the law of effect. Well, fast forward a few decades, and this guy, B.F. Skinner, takes that idea and just runs with it, creating his famous Skinner box to precisely measure how consequences can literally shape behavior.
And all of that work gave us this concept of operant conditioning. Now, it sounds a little technical, but the idea is actually super simple. It's just a learning process. Actions that get rewarded tend to happen again, and actions that get punished, well, they tend to fade away. It's really just learning by doing and seeing what happens next. So what are the actual tools that this process uses to shape what we do? Well, it all boils down to four main types of consequences.
All right, let's break this down, because the words can be a little tricky. First thing to remember, positive and negative here don't mean good and bad. Nope. Positive just means you're adding something, and negative means you're taking something away. Then you've got reinforcement, which is about making a behavior happen more often, and punishment, which is about making it happen less. So, giving a dog a treat for sitting, you're adding a good thing to increase the sitting. That's positive reinforcement. But putting on headphones to block out an annoying noise, you're taking away a bad thing, which makes you more likely to wear headphones in the future. See? That's negative reinforcement.
So, we've covered the what, the different ways to influence behavior. But this is where things get really, really interesting. The true secret, the thing that creates these incredibly sticky, persistent habits, it's not just about the reward itself. It's about when that reward shows up. The timing is everything.
And this right here, this is the master key to understanding why some behaviors become so compulsive, even addictive. It's the secret behind what makes slot machines and social media so ridiculously hard to put down. I mean, just compare two different scenarios. Think about a predictable reward, like your paycheck. You work your hours, you get paid. The behavior is stable, sure, but it's not compulsive. Now compare that to an unpredictable reward, like pulling the lever on a slot machine. You might win, you might get nothing. It's totally random. And that very randomness, that inconsistency, is what creates this intense, powerful drive to keep going. Your brain is just hooked on chasing that next potential win. This powerful principle has a name. It's called intermittent reinforcement. All it means is that the reward doesn't come every single time. It's unpredictable. And what Skinner found was that this kind of schedule creates behaviors that are incredibly hard to stop. We just keep trying and trying and trying because, hey, you never know. The next time might be the one. And once you understand this concept, you will start seeing it absolutely everywhere. Slot machines are the classic example, of course. But think about video games with their random loot boxes. That's pure intermittent reinforcement. And social media, it might be the biggest version of this in the world. Every single flick of your thumb is a gamble. You might get a boring post, or you might get a hilarious video. That unpredictability is exactly what keeps you scrolling. So let's bring this full circle and go back to where we started. Let's apply this powerful idea of intermittent reinforcement to the messy, complicated world of human connection. Okay, so let's go back to that playing hard to get idea, that intermittent attention, that hot and cold behavior. For our brains, it functions exactly like a slot machine. It creates a powerful magnetic pull. But this same mechanic has a much, much darker side.
It's a key ingredient in a phenomenon known as traumatic bonding.
And this is the crucial point. Groundbreaking research back in 1981 by Dutton and Painter identified 2 key ingredients that create these intensely strong and often incredibly damaging emotional bonds in abusive situations. Number 1, a power imbalance. And number 2, you guessed it, that exact same principle we've been talking about, intermittent reinforcement. What this creates is just a devastating cycle. You get these small, unpredictable moments of affection, these little breadcrumbs of kindness, and they create this powerful surge of hope. The person on the receiving end starts to magnify these small gestures and invest even more of themselves into the relationship. And then, just like that, the affection is withdrawn again. And it leaves them confused, desperate, just trying to get that reward, that good version of the person back. It keeps them trapped in a painful loop of hope and disillusionment.
So after all of this, what's the key takeaway here? How can we actually use this knowledge in our own lives?
The real power, honestly, comes from awareness. Once you understand the mechanics of intermittent reinforcement, you can start to see these patterns for what they really are, whether it's how an app is designed to keep you hooked or the dynamics playing out in a personal relationship. And especially when it comes to relationships, just remember those 2 key features that the researchers identified. 1, a significant, ongoing power imbalance, and 2, that unpredictable, addictive cycle of warmth and neglect. Just recognizing them is the first and most powerful step toward breaking the pattern.
Really, this framework gives you a whole new lens to see human behavior, from the smallest habits to the most profound connections. So I'll leave you with a final thought to chew on. Now that you know the formula, now that you know how intermittent reinforcement works, where do you see its powerful, unpredictable pull shaping the world around you?